Was that 30 seconds? I think that was actually 10 seconds, but we're doing well, huh? We're keeping on track. Right, as I mentioned, scaling culture, and the person that's going to share his insights and a little bit more on that topic to help us move forward with the idea, the president of Connolly Owens, Mr. Ron Lovett. Ron, are you there? Are you there, Ron? I can see you. I can't hear you right now. You're looking great, by the way. Mute button somewhere, perhaps. No, we can see you. See you loud and clear. We can see you. It's fine. Can you hear me? I can see you. I can't hear you. No. But listen, you're looking great right now. Wherever you are unmuted. Apparently.
How's it now?
I can hear you. And I think there's a little bit of a lag. Speak to me more. Tell me.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming live out of East Coast of Canada, Halifax.
Fantastic. Listen, we are with you. You are with us now. Everything is synced and we're ready, set, go. So I'm going to hand it over to you now. And remember, towards the end, I'll come in with some questions from our audience members and looking forward to hearing your session. Over to you.
Great. Excellent. Well, look, thank you everybody for having me today. I don't know why you can see my screen okay? You guys can hear me okay? Yeah? All good?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you.
Excellent. Great. So look, thanks for having me. I was really excited to be able to present today. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this topic. And I think it's timely. You know, they are calling the pandemic the Great Resignation. And I think we're seeing this globally. And so really excited to present on this. And this will be a buckle up your seatbelt and take notes as we're going to go through this quickly. And so very quickly, before I tell you my story, I really think as leaders, and I think this is critical. We need to think about this. Our jobs are to guide, challenge, and support people to make the best decisions possible, not to make decisions for them. This is the biggest mistake by leaders today. And I think we sometimes look in the mirror and wonder why we're so busy. So my previous, in a previous life, I guess what I'd call chapter 1, I was in the private security industry and physical guarding space. And I would argue that that's one of the most challenging spaces to operate on the planet. It has low morale, high turnover, minimum wage industry. It's commoditized through pricing and there's no innovation. And so I had a very low point. I had this company I started at the age of 21, which is now 21 years ago. And in 2014, I almost lost $1 million. I was close to shutting the doors. And I don't know, you know, I'm going to protect myself from this happening again. But for some reason, as leaders and entrepreneurs, when we hit the lowest point, we ask the biggest question. And for me, that question, which was very powerful, was, what if I had to restart the entire private security industry from scratch? And that was a great question. That was blank slate. Probably a very similar question that companies like Uber asked when they entered the taxi space. And that allowed me to look at things a little differently. I started with employees and looked at what their key bottlenecks and challenges were. Myself as a company owner, what were my key challenges and bottlenecks, as well as our customers? And could I create a model that allowed me to solve these problems and continue to be profitable? And so the two key headlines from that was decentralization and culture. And doubling down on culture was key. I was always inspired by Starbucks, Southwest Airlines, and thought, you know, no one had done it in the private security industry. And I became a little obsessive about that in my journey to really fix the company. And I thought, this is going to start with people. And I look at companies now like sports teams, you know, like the best sports team. And I put a new perspective on that, just forgot about the industry and said, if I'm trying to create the best Olympic team, then it's going to be a tough team to make, a tough team to stay on, but an incredible team to play for. And that's the mindset I had to restructure things. And so doing that, it was really about transforming employees into passionate stakeholders. And so what I'm going to do is give you a quick, fast overview on how we did that and some of the best tools and processes to achieve it. Of course, this starts with the hiring process. But before you hire, I do want to pose this question, which I think is a great collaborative, innovative question to pose to your teams, which is, if you need to make a hire, if you had to solve this problem that you're hiring for and you weren't allowed to hire, what would you do? I don't think we ask that question enough. We react and put a human in place. And I just think that we need to slow down before going to market and really ask ourselves the question, not ourselves, but our team. What will we do? Run this session with your team. You'll get an ROI. Is it a technology that maybe you can implement? Is there a system? Do you break up the task to more team members, which we'll talk about in a little bit? But a very important question. And then if you go to the hiring process, and you see in the middle point there is attributes for your role and culture. And I think we need to be thinking strongly about that. So what do I mean by that? So in our culture, continuous improvement and change is one of our key core values, and it drives performance. So if we know that, then if continuous improvement and change is critical for our business, then that's where we start the screening process. That's the attribute. And so how do we screen for that in developing a process? In our interview process, we ask people over and over again, tell us change you've implemented, tell us change you've followed, not just in your work life, but in your private life, because maybe in your personal life, I should say, because maybe you're not allowed to implement change at work. And so we continuously ask these questions over and over and over again. Going to market is critical. You start with your A players, right? These are people that we can't live without. And some of the key questions are, when you're going to market, is talk to your people. How did they hear about the company? Why did they apply? And what do they love about the job? What circles do they run in, online and in the community? That's where you're going to start. And do those people have referrals? We need to start with our best people and don't take them for granted as far as them not being able to drive the business, and build a bench of folks that we're not stuck. You know, we really need access to the best people, and those come from the best people in our business. I want to talk about knockout questions. In a lot of applications, we'll see questions which we refer to as knockout questions. So for instance, can you legally work in this country is a knockout question. Are you of legal age to serve alcohol is a knockout question. My suggestion is adding a operational knockout question. So I'll share Southwest Airlines. One of their top knockout questions for folks that put the bags on the planes is, are you willing to work overtime? If the answer is no, it's just like saying you can't legally work in the United States because planes are late. They need you to be able to do that. So it's a key knockout question. The other thing that I'd like everybody to start thinking about is, how do you get an ROI, return on investment, from the interview process? Very important. There's two key questions to pose. One are, present candidates with past problems that the company has already solved. And you'll see very quickly if they solved it as well, not as well, or better. Maybe actually you find out that there's something better you could be doing. And even better, present a current problem, something that keeps you up at night. Maybe it's a team challenge. Maybe it's a customer challenge. Present those things in the interview, because you are hiring people that will hopefully solve future problems for the company. Onboarding, I want to touch on very briefly. I feel like most people are getting this down now, but onboarding is not training. Onboarding happens before training, and it needs 4 key components: the company's story, how it started, where it's going, the ups and downs, its core values. What are the values of the business, and what is the foundation of the culture? Its purpose, mission, vision. Those are critical things that people need to know. And brand promise. What are you promising to your customers? And I think one of the biggest things that I see that's missing is not just these stories and presenting this, but how do people participate? How do they participate in the purpose? How do they participate in the values? That is critical on onboarding. If you're doing it virtually, make sure those stories are captured. If you're doing it human to human, make sure that people understand how they participate. I love Zappos, Holly Delaney, who's been a great advisor and friend. You know, at Zappos, which she's since left, you know, they, after your onboarding process, they provide you 1 month's pay to either leave or stay. I mean, they really double down to make sure that this is the place for you. I haven't been that aggressive with it yet, but I love the concept. And I think we'll see more and more companies doing this. So back to Holly, she pointed out as I was getting ready to write the new book and masterclass, Scaling Culture, she said, Ron, this is great. You've got some great topics, but everything starts with a relationship. And she's right. Everything we do either brings us closer or creates a wedge. Every text message, every dot, every capital letter, all our body language, we need to be intentional about what we're doing and think about that. And the foundation obviously is trust. And I think that, in some cases, it's important to build trust as leaders. We take it for granted that we are intimidating. We are. And so, one of the key skills I do is when I meet someone new, I share first. I don't overshare, but I certainly talk about something good or bad that's going on in my life that's not too personal. And I share how I'm feeling about that. Maybe it's, look, I was stressed last night because my 3-month-old was up and crying all night, and it really stressed me out. And I was a bit anxious about that. That just tells the person that I'm human and they can share. But if you're not comfortable doing that, I understand, but I do think that vulnerability and empathy equals bravery. But some people can't be vulnerable. I talk to a lot of leaders that say, I'm not interested in sharing like that. And so I'd like to talk for 2 seconds about a technique called labeling. And this is, I learned this through Chris Voss, who wrote the book, Never Split the Difference. He's an excellent negotiator. And I love this technique. Labeling is where you meet someone, they start to talk to you and they'll say, hey, I had some family over for a weekend barbecue. And you take whatever they say and you wrap it up in sounds like or feels like and send it back. Wow, sounds like that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was. We had a lot of family there, which we haven't seen in a long time. Wow, feels like family is really important to you. All I'm doing is wrapping what they say and sending it back with feels like, sounds like. That is a great way of building trust in a relationship. Give that a try. I want to talk about rebuilding trust quickly because I think we take this for granted. We break trust as leaders and we have trust broken. And there's a key thing. The apology is a starting point, right? I'm sorry for what I did yesterday. I was late for a meeting. I'm sorry. But to rebuild trust, we as leaders need to deliver on a new commitment. I'm sorry I was late yesterday. I'll be 5 minutes early and show up 5 minutes early, maybe even 7. That rebuilds trust. But the other side of the coin is very important. As people around you break trust, which will happen, have them make a new commitment. They need to make the new commitment. Don't let them off the hook without that because that will help you regain their trust. Very quickly, because I think that not enough leaders are skilled in the communication, in communication language on how to have a tough conversation. Mara, who's my business coach, provided this framework for me. I wish I knew it 10 years ago in my early 30s. Starting with the intention, talking through the desired outcomes, and most importantly, how do you want this person to experience you? And so I'll run through this very quickly. I've got a salesperson, they're not hitting their targets. So I sit them down. The intention is not that they hit their targets. The intention has to be for it to lift them up. So my intention in this conversation, Mary, is to make you the best salesperson possible in this company, to make you better than I've ever been. That gives me a green light to talk about the outcomes, which are hitting the targets and following up with the customer. And then I make notes on, before the meeting, how do I want them to experience me? Because I can be a pound the table, passionate entrepreneur, but I'm looking for them to experience me as someone who's compassionate, thoughtful, kind, and I want to stay on point with that. This has changed how I have tough conversations. Exiting C players, people that we don't want within the business. Too many leaders are still sending memos. Ron Lovett, thanks for your time here. We thank Ron for everything he's done and wish him luck. I used to do it. It's the wrong thing to do. We now need to bring, it's a great opportunity to bring people closer together. Get in touch with your team. How did this happen? How did Ron get on the team? How do we protect ourselves from this happening again? What did we learn? Maybe we learned something about the hiring process. And it's a great time to reset and talk about your values, your purpose. I'll talk about Dan Pink really quickly. This was very helpful as I was changing my business. I read the book, and he's got a 10-minute YouTube video you should check out on Drive on the book that explains everything. He talks about the power of purpose, autonomy, mastery. In my business, I felt he missed community. So I want to talk quickly about all 4 of these. The power of purpose. Most companies have a purpose. For us, it became everything. In my past business, my security business, it was to change the private security industry. Now I've got a company called Vita that provides affordable living throughout North America, and it's to revolutionize affordable communities. Our purpose is so strong that it is our pitch to customers. It is our pitch to potential staff members that can either get behind the purpose or they can't. It also, if you think about that, it attracts or detracts people, which is okay. And your purpose should be doing that. And then we continue to hold people accountable to our purpose. Autonomy. I want to talk about this and give you some guidance for autonomy, because empowerment is the new delegation, letting people find their way. And so the best tool we used for a framework for autonomy was this. If we didn't have a process or somebody was dealing with something that wasn't part of their regular job, we would say, ask yourself these 3 simple questions and make a decision on your own. Is what you're about to do the right thing for the customer? Is it the right thing for our business based on our purpose and values? And are you willing to be accountable? If it's yes, 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 move. Don't ask anybody. Don't go to mid-level management for a decision. Move. And that changed our business. It gave people their brains back. And that's a subtitle of my book, Outrageous Empowerment. That was the key thing that scaled security guards. We had 3,500 across the country. Made people more accountable, finally. Forced coaching moments. Hey, walk me through how you made that decision. Did you use the decision-making process? Walk me through. And it created moments of celebration where people made better decisions than I would have as CEO. And we implemented those as best practices. I want to talk about mastery, because even if you get your culture right, you're only 50% of the way there. And what I mean by that is you could still be in a place where people are doing things that they don't love. And that was obvious. I had a staff member years ago who was an A player. We couldn't live without her. She was doing accounting. We met and she said, I think I'm going to leave. I love the values. I love our purpose, but I don't love what I do every day. And so if you think about it, we really need people's skills and passions to connect with companies' needs. And so we went through a process which started at the office level to say, hey, who's accountable for what? And we call this task mapping. And do those tasks that you're accountable for drain or give you energy? And we looked very quickly and started to reshuffle things. For things that gave people energy, they continued to do and they excelled at. But for the items that didn't give them energy, we looked at other team members who wanted to learn about those items, and we started to reshuffle things. And then for those, if we didn't have team members that were looking to take over those tasks, we would outsource it. Actually, we first insourced it to security guards and then outsourced it to the market, to the gig economy. No differently than if you needed your garage painted, you know you're not good at it, and you go on Facebook and say, does anybody know someone who can paint a garage? Things really started to move then. Once we get true alignment. And this is an example of really mastery. As we grew our business, we went to frontline leaders to create content. And this was an example of someone we wanted to create content around writing note-taking for security guards. We put that out. She became the expert in our business. We had today there's over 38,000 views of this. So not only was this internal content, we pushed this out and this gained a lot of steam. It became a great marketing tool for the business. I want to talk about this, setting people up for success. If someone in your business has dropped the ball, the 3 things to look at as you look in the mirror are, did you provide them with the tools, the simple system or process, maybe a simple checklist, and have you given them the training about how to use the system and the tools? If you haven't checked the box on all 3, it is your problem. It's your fault, and you need to fix that with the company. The results in having people really become masters, people were more focused and aligned in their tasks. It decreased turnover. It was a new way for people to grow within our business. And people were much less likely, and continue to be, to burn out because they're now doing things they really enjoyed. Community. This is critical during the pandemic. I think we're all looking for how do we create community in these hybrid environments. And 2 things. One, obviously doubling down and having people get together for social interactions. That water cooler talk We're missing that. So social interactions is key. But the other thing that I want to point out, and the only one I really like to talk about here, is peer-to-peer learning. We create environments with same level leaders in our business that allows 6 to 8 peers to get together once a month to share challenges, highs, lows, what's going well, what's not going well. They'll share challenges and experience on how they've solved those challenges. So someone says, look, I've got this challenge. People will ask clarifying questions, and then they'll give their own experience or ideas on how to solve that challenge. Peer-to-peer learning, we need to double down. It's providing stickiness in organizations. So for us, we went all in. Once we really figured out these strategies, we doubled down on everything. And so we had, this is a few years back, but as we started converting employees to passionate stakeholders, we had a security guard on his birthday that we asked to cover a shift. And, security guards don't get much time off. And I was flying from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Toronto, Canada. My battery was dying. And I saw a message from Paul, one of our employees, that said, I'll cover the shift, no problem. This is my company, my family. So I saw that, and I was trying to cut and paste this message and send it to the entire staff, over 1,000 employees. I was so proud of this. So I'm running, I cut and paste, I send it, my phone dies. Now, I will warn you, I'm dyslexic and have ADHD. And so I got home that evening. I flew to Toronto and came back to Halifax. I get home, and my wife says to me, and she says, do you know what you did today? And I said, what do you mean? She said, that email you sent. And I said, well, what are you talking about? She said, the email, you sent a company-wide email. And I said, yeah, I know the one. And she said, your assistant called me and showed me that email. That's a big problem. She said, you need to proofread your emails. I said, honey, I proofread that 3 times. And this was the email that I sent after Paul took the shift. He says, no problem. This is my company, my family. And I wrote, very proud that we have Suck, Dedicated, and Patio our people, spoken like a true stakeholder. And I misspelled that as well. So I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I don't write company-wide emails without having a proofreader now. So in closing, this is a quote from a great friend of mine, and he's right. None of us are going to build great companies. We will lead incredible people who will build great companies. So I'm Ron Lovett. I've got Outrageous Empowerment, which was released in 2018. And I've got Scaling Culture, which will be released in the winter, I guess now. Should be out in February with a masterclass. And then we run a podcast called Scaling Culture. So please check us out. You may enjoy this.
Fantastic. Listen, Ron, fabulous insights there, and really good to hear those ideas. And you're absolutely right. Former FBI negotiator Chris Voss, amazing book he's come out with, and great. He shares some really good insights that we can all take heed of. We haven't got much time right now, but I'm just going to jump in with one question for you. So, which questions did you notice companies or recruiters often use that don't work if you want to get to know the candidates better? So we're not looking for the ones that work. We're looking for the phrases that you hear that just simply are not going to work in getting that connection, getting to know them better. What would you say?
That's a great question that don't work. I feel like we could go down a big rabbit hole with that. I think there's a lot that don't work.
Give us some ideas that come to mind. The things that you often hear, you just think, oh God, not that again.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times people just say, tell me your story, tell me your story. I don't know if that works anymore. I think we have to be very intentional and about the questions we're asking. And so as much as I appreciate that question, I feel like we've moved away for so long on questions that don't work, that we literally focus on the things that do. I just think that, I just think the base, well, here's what doesn't work. The same questions over and over again. The templated question, we ask all candidates these 10 questions. We've seen a lot of people that isn't getting them the results that they need, because the same questions from yesterday need to be developed and changed as we scale and grow our business. And so if you're using questions, I don't care what the questions are, from 2, 3, 4 years ago, you need to go back to the drawing board. Make that part of your quarterly planning, yearly planning, is redeveloping those questions based on your company today and the landscape.
Listen, Ron, we're out of time right now. Thank you so much for those great insights again. everybody who's been listening to this, you can reach out to Ron and take and connect and take that conversation further. All that leaves me now to say is thanks so much for your insights. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful.
Enjoy.
Right. We move across now from scaling culture over to how to inspire in times of great resignation in just a few moments' time.